wasn't space for the fantasy. So I've already run into my first hurdle. Today is a dark, gloomy, rainy day, which is the perfect atmosphere to stay inside, be cozy, and play with books. So I have already removed all of the books off of my shelves, and we're going to be taking all of the books and try and figure out how I would like to organize them, because I usually just go off of vibes. I'm thinking of doing a mixture of vibes and genres, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the direction I want to go ultimately. So this is probably going to take a while. So I guess let me quit yapping and let's just get into the book B-roll, baby. Okay, hello bonus shelf. So we do have another shelf right over here. This one is taller than the other ones because of the shape of the room. And I want to use this for my fantasy because fantasy is definitely a big one in my red shelves. So I definitely want to make sure that it'll fit. I do have a feeling it's going to bleed on over here because honestly, this was just my first attempt at grouping things together as I was taking them off of the shelves. And then because of how things are laid out on this couch, which mind you, I cannot wait until we clear off this couch so I could use it. But basically, some things ended up getting mixed up just in the act of me adding them to the couch. So I'm pretty sure there's some fantasy stuff in my annotation section that I might actually want to move in with the fantasy, and then so on and so forth. So this is a mess, and I'm going to somehow try and bring it all over there, which isn't counting all of the fantasy because I didn't there wasn't space. There wasn't space for the fantasy. So those are actually back on the shelves, but shh, don't tell anybody because that'll ruin the illusion. Okay, so I've already run into my first hurdle, which is something that I've had an issue with previously. And that is if I go the route where I put books that I'm all like, yeah, this is almost just romance, even though it's got a fantasy vibe, versus fantasy that has romance in it. I have some books like Caraval. This series, I believe there is a fairly heavy romance plot to it, but I remember it more for like the sisters dynamics and the, like the shenanigans that they got into. I don't really remember the romance that much. I know I was super into it when I was reading it, so I don't know. It's just not how I remember the book. Whereas the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, all romance for me. Like almost everything else is secondary, even though there is all of this other plot to it. And that's also true for the One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns duology, which has 2 different romance per book. And so that one, very heavy on it. I remember that. That was a big part of the story. And all of the F.T. Lukens books that I have right here, all romance, like romance more than anything else. Fun plot, fun things that we're getting into, but the romance takes the cake. Now, since I don't really think of Caraval for the romance, even though, again, that's a big part of it, I would put that on the other shelf. But then it's kind of all like, should I separate this and Once Upon a Broken Heart? No, they should be together, obviously. So then it's kind of all like, already things are starting to fall apart. On top of that, I like grouping hardcovers and similar height books together, but I have Sword Heart in hardcover and paperback. Same with the Belladonna series. And once again, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And so do I separate them and have it like what I'm doing right now, where there's just them grouped together on this shelf and then them grouped together on this shelf? Or do I keep all of the books by the same author together? I'm struggling. And I guess this is why a lot of people will group everything by author, but even then, I know there's a bunch of people who separate their hard covers from their paperbacks. So that still doesn't solve that problem. Yeah, I'm on the struggle bus, and I'm only in the, trying to find general places. I haven't even solidified anything yet. So I can see already that this is going to take a while and not be as easy as I was hoping it would be. Okay, so let's actually try something I've never done before, and we are going to organize alphabetically by author. Oh my goodness. I kind of hate this, but I'm interested to see how it looks. And it might be nice to do for a little while, at least. So I'm not going to worry too much about vibes in terms of genre. It's just going to be, if it has some sort of fantastical element, it goes in fantasy. If it's contemporary romance, it goes in romance. Like that's how we're going to do it. I feel like I've been working on this for hours already, and again, we still haven't finalized anything. I've started putting everything in alphabetical order for the fantasy, and already I'm like running out of space. I need things to fit here and this, that, and the other. And then on top of that, I was thinking that maybe I should try and put my sci-fi books around here as well, since I don't have that many. So I was thinking this bottom shelf, let's move this footstool here. I'm thinking this bottom shelf maybe could just be sci-fi, then it goes into fantasy, then I want it to go into romance. It's funny because there's overlap in all of these different genres that I have, but I'm thinking sci-fi, fantasy, romance, contemporary, mystery, thriller, horror is kind of the thoughts. Because I am doing them in alphabetical order, I find myself not wanting to do stacks like this. And then I realize that means I don't have enough space for everything. Stacks really do help with space. And so I have a feeling that if I continue the way that I'm currently going, there is no way that I'll be able to fit all of these remaining books, along with what's back there, all on these 4 remaining shelves, especially if I end up moving 2 of these shelves here to give more space for fantasy. Now, I do have duplicates of books, and like maybe it would make sense to display them elsewhere, but I don't currently have a place to do that. So I don't know. I don't know. Shucks. I think it might make sense to go from the opposite end and just kind of fill them out without worrying about alphabetizing them. And then I can alphabetize them after they're all on the shelf. But like, will I have space to decorate? I know I was able to do that before. Do stacks really make that big of a difference? Okay. I guess let's do this. Oh my god. Oh my goodness! There's so much to do. Okay, so because I'm a very curious person and I typically do not do my shelves like these, I did try putting all of the books upright, no stacks, no facing forward, nothing like that. And unfortunately, I don't have enough space for that. I didn't realize exactly how much space I was saving by having stacks of books. I knew it made some difference, but yeah, it seems to be quite significant. So as you might be able to see, I have several stacks in different areas that I wasn't able to fit in. I did not move and make space for any of the sci-fi books, so those are still out. And then I still have all of my like nonfiction out, which like I said, I was thinking of putting somewhere else anyway. Yeah, so I'm glad to have all of the books on my shelves again, but we're still kind of far from where I was hoping to be. Now, out of curiosity, before I rearrange things and stack stuff and try and actually make it work a little bit more like I want to, I'm curious because I have a decent amount of duplicates for some books. How much space would I get if I take off all of the duplicate copies and only keep a single copy of each book? I'm just curious. I'm curious how many duplicates I have. Like, that's the reality. At least when it comes to the red shells. Okay, so here are all of my duplicates, which is shameful, but most of them are books I absolutely adore, so it is what it is. That being said, that does make space for all of the books with a little bit of wiggle room, not very much. Tell me this isn't a vibe. It's a vibe. I didn't think I would, but I like it. Now the question is, where do you put all of the decorations? I don't have space for that. Also, where do I put these books? Where do they go? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna sit on it. We're gonna get back to everything tomorrow and we'll decide the next steps then. Good morning. Hello. So yesterday I went ahead and pulled all of the duplicates off of the shelves, and this morning I kind of went through and organized them. So here are the ones that are annotated that I have multiple copies. There are some annotated ones still on the shelves. And then I have just like various special editions and things like that. And then I also found a place to put all of the duplicates that are books that I would like to reread and annotate. So these are copies to annotate. Now, that does mean all of the books fit on these shelves. And the more I'm looking at it, the more I like it. I've never had my bookshelves like this. I've always had them overstuffed, overpacked, sideways ones, a lot of knickknacks, all of that stuff. And I'm kind of digging this. I don't know how long this is going to last because I am sure I'm going to miss my knickknacks very soon. But I do like this. I haven't finished alphabetizing them though. And I have, which you saw earlier, this stack of books that I need to figure out what I'm going to do with. Because I have taken some stuff off, there is some space for me to put some of the special editions back up with other versions and whatnot. But I do have a little space right here, and I already bought a bookshelf to go there. So originally the plan for this bookshelf was to have a spot for the DNFs and unhauls throughout the year, since I don't actually unhaul anything until the end of the year. But I think it might be a nice spot to put all of my annotated books instead, which would give me a little bit more space because, as you might be able to see with some of the books here, I pulled out the annotated copies that are still on the shelves for books that don't have multiple copies for them. So I figured maybe I could put all of the ones that aren't part of a series. So for instance, I have the first Deanna Raybourn A Curious Beginnings series that's fully annotated, but the rest of the series is not. And as much as I love grouping all of my annotated books together so that I could just play with them or look through them or flip through them or whatever, I don't like splitting up series either. So I figured in those cases, I will keep them on the shelves and maybe just flip it so that I know that's an annotated copy, maybe. I don't know. So I guess since it seems like I am going to keep this look for a while, let's actually finish alphabetizing the books and then build this shelf here so that I can house my annotated books and then see if I can fit back in some of the duplicates. Yes. I think that is the plan for the rest of the video. Okay, I am out here making good progress because we have moved over to this end. I put a pause on the fantasy because I need the step stool that had all of my books that are going to go into the shelf here that's not made. You get the picture. So I decided to start with the shelves I can actually reach, and I've run into a snafu if you will, because I've got my horror and then thriller, suspense, whatever. Now, already, there are some books that I actually think like that should be in horror. This should be up here, so on and so forth. There are several that I think should be in here, but there's more that I feel like tote the line and that I don't know. And so part of me is all like, should I just combine that whole entire section? Because I feel like I tend to do that anyway. Like if I do a vlog, it's not a horror vlog, it's like a horror, suspense, thriller, mystery vlog. And not too mystery, because Cozy Mysteries has their own section that's pretty easy, but then there's some mysteries within the thriller suspense, and that's where it gets foggy. So I think I'm going to combine all of these because I think that'll just be easier, which is a little sad because I love having a dedicated horror section or like strong horror, but there are too many pieces down here that I'm unsure of. I think that makes the most sense. So I'm going to combine them and continue this moving everything around process. Okay, hi, hello. Some time has passed. I did finish alphabetizing everything except the rest of that fantasy shelf because I want the stool, which means that I do need to put together this shelf so I can put most of those books on it. I did also take some books off of the shelves that are going to be going on this one, the annotated shelf. And then there will still be some left that I need to figure out what I'm going to do with. So there's space. So I could fit some of them back into the shelves. That is possible. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Instead, I should figure out how to do this. I don't know why this looks so daunting to me, but it does. Fortunately, everything is numbered, and even though these look to all be the same, they seem to all have their own individual number, so that will avoid confusion and messing things up, I think. I am surprised, though, at how small the base is. This is seeming like it's going to be way smaller than I was thinking. But then at the same time, it can't be much bigger than this. So maybe it's perfect. But yeah, I'm gonna put this together and I will show you the end piece. Okay, she's done. It does not hold as many books as I thought it would. She's tiny, but I did put most of the annotated books on here. There are some still on the shelves that like are part of series because I didn't want to separate stuff, as I mentioned. This does mean I was able to empty the stool so that I can alphabetize the last of the fantasy books. And then as you can see, I do have some books sitting in front of areas. These are the duplicates that it looks like I'll have enough space to put back. So I just wanted to have an idea of where they're supposed to go. Because as you can see at the bottom, I need to move stuff over to make space for them. But there's a ton of space over there at the top. So I'm not too worried about it, but we'll kind of see how it goes. Okay, so we managed to alphabetize everything, and all that is left to do is some of the final touches and the glamour shots and all of the sweet, sweet whatever. I will say I ended up doing the whole alphabetize by author thing just on a whim. I was like, I'm curious. People do it all the time. It's not my vibe, but hey, why not try it? And of course, I love it. Like, I'm really here for it. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's not typically what I do, but it's pretty fun. There's something so nice in all of the books mixed together like this, but then also having all of the things grouped by the author in each of the genres. I don't know, I'm just really happy with it. Let's do the final touches and see how it all turned out.